In the last video we said that our reducers must not mutate the state. In order to understand what mutate the state means, we firstly need to know what a pure function is. Redux indeed relies on pure functions for preventing the state mutations. Okay, so what pure functions are and why do we need them in Redux? A pure function is a function that, given the same input, will always return the same output. Look at this example. The first one is a pure function. Given the same input, for instance 16, the function will always return the same output, which is false in case of 16. The second function, although looks almost the same, it is an impure function, because the returned result will change based on the value of minimum age variable that is defined outside the scope of the function. I want you to think what the problem is. From the application state will depends what data will be returned to the user, and therefore how your UI will behave. You want to have your state to be predictable and reliable. You don't want your state mutating accidentally over time by any part of your code. For instance, if you build a shopping cart, you want to be confident that your app will always display precisely the user requested quantity of product in the basket, not 1 unit more or less. You want to be confident that every time a user inputs 1 unit of product, your basket adds exactly that 1 unit. What will happen if somewhere in your code you have a function or a variable that at certain conditions alter the result of your basket? You will get a massive bug that sometimes could be even hard to spot or root cause. So how would you mitigate such risk of mutating your application state? Well, a good solution is to use pure functions, because given the same input, we always get a predictable output. Actually, this is the way how Redux works, and the reason why reducers have to be pure functions. Redux is based on 3 principles. The first one is that the state is the single source of truth. That means that all the different pieces of state must to be stored inside one single state object. Inside the state object you will have, for instance, a books array, an array for categories, you will have booleans values, string, integer, and so on. But everything under one object state. State can change only by emitting an action. And finally, the third principle, as we said, is that reducers must be pure functions. Finally, if you still don't feel comfortable how you should approach Redux to prevent state mutation, don't worry. Later in the course we will write many different operations and we will consider many different scenarios. But in principle, when making operations with arrays, you should use concat, slice or spread operator. Never use push or splice. Instead, when making operations with objects, you can use object assign or again the spread operator.